Hey there, lovely day at the Riverwalk, and something I want to talk about today is the early days of comics, at least my experience with it, because I've been putting up on eBay lately what you might call file copies, that is some of the earliest published works that I have, copies of them that have been, basically sitting in a box, not doing me any good necessarily, and here I am, 63 years old, decided to part with them. So brought back some memories, some of the earliest stuff I did when I was working for other people, starting around, 96, 97, something like that. And I did work with Bob Burden, Flaming Carrot. Basically went to Atlanta for a week, I think, with another fella. And what was his name? Pat St. Amour, whatever happened to him. And, we basically drew the whole comic, and then he inked it, and you couldn't tell we had done anything because he basically, put the frosting on with his own look. But that was a very weird experience there, staying at his house, because he had a Nazi uniform collection in the basement, mannequins with all dressed up. It was weird, and all he ever talked about was himself, rather narcissistic. And I'm not attacking, I'm just saying what happened. And so aside from the Nazi stuff, I remember him being on the telephone talking to someone, a black woman, about an airline ticket. He didn't like the way she was talking. He called her a potato mouth, which is a slur I hadn't heard before. But anyway, he was full of stuff like that. I also wound up doing some drawings for him of his characters, the Mystery Man, which went into the proposal, which went out to Hollywood, which got the film made. I reprinted some of those in one of the fan mags recently. Can't remember which one. But anyway, that was one experience, and not all good. In a sense, getting used, So these guys were small time or independent. Other companies were, larger and also, exploitative, whatever. Really got the business from Dark Horse. They tore me a new one, basically. And anyway, another thing that popped up in this file copy collection was the Staros Report, which I didn't realize at the time that it was annual, but it's basically a comic review thing, sort of like, I guess, Comics Journal in a way. That's probably the closest example. And it, Eddie Campbell, is Eddie Campbell Australian and kind of autobiographical? Well, anyway, this Chris Staros guy, he lived in Atlanta and hired me to do some stuff. I did a back cover on this issue of the report. Did a long comic story in there, basically retelling his high school crushes experiences, crush on a girl and da-da-da. And okay. I saw later that he'd gotten Bo Hampton to do something similar, some other thing, comic about his experience playing in a band. But what I would say about these, the weird thing about independent comics, and it could be him, Staros Report, which of course is long gone, but Fantagraphics, is a well-known one. But they have this attitude like, mainstream comics are crap, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, they are, mainly. So we're going to do, bravely independent comics that are not like, they're much better because we, are true to the form. We recognize its potential, blah, blah, blah. So they find stuff, find artists, basically. Oh, someone's coming up the trail. Hold on. So anyway, where was I? The thing about these, alternative comic publishers is that what they're looking for is basically people that can't draw as well as the mainstream comics. So, that's kind of the bar or whatever, the defining element. But the drawing is kind of, simple, childish, cartoony, whatever. Not to criticize styles like that because, that's fine in its own way. But it's just an odd pattern that all these books, for the most part, the draftsmanship is not that great. Now, Love and Rockets was, fairly good draftsmanship, stylistically, in its own way. That was one of the better, more successful titles that they had. But anyway, going back to this Chris Staros thing, so when I did work for him, I had just got married, just had the first child. Income was a problem. I had to take on work, whether I wanted to or not. There was a time when I almost went to work at a 7-Eleven. That's how serious it was. Did not have a college degree, so on. So anyway, he got me to draw this story. I also went to Atlanta, I think for a convention. Stayed at his house. And it was the weirdest, most unpleasant experience, one of them, that I've ever had. And it's all kind of coming back because like I said, I pulled this Staros Report book out and put it up for sale, which no one bid on it, incidentally. But anyway, so I'm at this guy's house, and it's a fucking palace, huge, very expensive. And I walk in, and here's the living room. It goes on forever. And there's all these lovely drapes and windows, sunlight pouring in the windows. The whole room is so bright, well lit, from the outside. But then I noticed that every light bulb in the house is on. So in this room, in broad daylight, all the lights are on in the lamps. Now I just got in there, so I didn't say anything. But it's like, this is peculiar. Who does this? What kind of person does this? So, anyway, I guess it's the bourgeois, the royalty, they can afford to do stuff like that. But anyway, Staros, he had his little attic upstairs. He had a safe up there full of comics. So, the comics that he had up there, they were part of a Silver Age collection that he had. And when he needed to finance, he was basically selling this stuff off bit by bit. And, okay, so you want to do alternative comics, and you're going to use, Jack Kirby to pay for it. I remember being over there, and one of his friends came over, a neighbor. And he and the neighbor, oh, buddy, they're talking, they're laughing, stuff like that. And I had already met Staros' wife. Sweet woman. But before you know it, Staros and this guy start mocking and insulting their wives, basically talking about how stupid their wives are. And I was repulsed because I felt like I just met this lady, woman, girl, whatever, downstairs. She's your wife. You live together, and you're talking about her like this to some dickhead, and chances are you really mean it. You really mean this stuff. So anyway, this guy, Staros, he, at the time he was working for Lockheed Martin. He was a manager. So, Lockheed Martin was basically making death-dealing machinery, military stuff, things like that. And so Staros is telling me stories about, him managing people. Basically, you got people working there who have problems. It's just like any workplace. and he's just mashing them down with his thumb. He's so proud of himself for his ability to dominate these people who are basically, helpless. So anyway, I didn't send out very good vibes to me about who he was and what he was doing. But anyway, what I would say is that the whole thing, his company Top Shelf that he started, which is now part of IDW, any projects that he's done on his own, which are, not really worth going into, that what can happen with a person? Oh, I'm working with Lockheed Martin, I don't like it, but my comic books, I don't like those either, but I want to have a legacy, have a picture of myself on Wikipedia where I did something. And what I would add about these alternative comics, especially the Comics Journal, it's basically a gigantic flag billboard to say, we're smarter than you are. We have better taste than you do. And the thing about comics is there's a lot of arrested development in fandom. There's a lot of addiction. There's, they call themselves geeks and nerds now to avoid the shaming factor. But all you got to do is go to a comic convention and you see tons of this. So I've talked about addiction before, and addiction is all over the culture. All kinds of things. It could be buying, shopping. It could be watching TV. It could be drugs. It could be eating, alcohol, all sorts of things. Well, you get into the same thing with comics, sorry. And anyway, I found a tail from a skink, blue-tailed skink. So that should tell you something. It's a sign. So anyway, so there's this snobbery element. And, Fantagraphics, for example, for all the stuff that they tried to publish, not too much of it is well remembered these days, because they had a hell of a hard time finding stuff that was of brilliant quality. So they wound up publishing a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't. I did some stuff for them. I did a comic series of what's it called, based on the silent film Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. So that was a good bit of work, 3 issues. Spent a lot of time on the artwork. It was grayscale artwork. When it finally was published, they didn't use good paper, and so most of the detail I put in didn't come through, which was a pisser. But anyway, at some point, months after it came out, I called them up and I asked about royalties, because that was part of the deal, that I would get paid a certain amount, then I would get royalties. And they said, royalties? You got to be kidding me. That was the dumbest project we ever came up with. There's no royalties from that. It was stupid. I'm like, fellas, it was your idea. It wasn't my idea. So anyway, they're always doing stuff like that. And I don't know if I got anything more to add about the Staros guy. They have him listed as a adjunct professor at the Savannah College of Art and Design, which there again, we're getting to the point these days where professorship or PhD, it doesn't really mean much anymore. Basically, if you go to a college and you're willing to pay, to go through the program, you're going to come out with a degree. They want the money more than, they are concerned about your actual intelligence, knowledge, and skill level and things like that. So anyway, Staros, creepy. I still, like I said, it all kind of came back to me. Began remembering things I'd completely forgotten. But the way he treated people, the way he treated me, the way he treated other artists, the way he treated employees at Lockheed Martin, what he said about his wife in front of me. The way he treated me, basically I'm the, slave, the art nigger, in a sense. Just a pair of hands. Not good. And the stories that we did, I did this autobiographical thing about how he had a crush on a girl. The story opens up where, I had a crush on this girl. I loved her so much from afar. But then there was another girl too, and I felt the same way about her. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, people are where they are, who they are, and maybe his parents were not in a truly loving relationship, so he never had an example to look at. But anyway, he's made a name for himself in this little area of, comic history, is this alternative publisher guy, and it's like, it's no better than anything else. It's really not. So anyway, one thing I would add to all this idea that the alternative publishers have, that they know what's good. They don't. They're using the broadest, simplest criteria, that it needs to be, contemporary or realistic or urban, and not drawn in a, slick or professional fashion. And, but then again, when it comes to creating, whether it's writing or drawing or painting or anything else, you've got a level of craft, you've got rules, axioms, not to say they can't be broken, but all those things need to be learned. So when you look at something, you can appreciate it. You're not just recognizing it because it fits in a certain mold. You're appreciating it because you can see the different levels on which it operates. Now, if a piece of art or fiction isn't operating very well, it's because they have not mastered the craft. So I get this in scripts all the time where things are misspelled, punctuation is incorrect, 5 words are used where 1 will do, things like that. And basically these publishers, I don't know if Gary Groth is still in this mess or not. He wasn't a very nice guy either when I met him. But anyway, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't understand the craft anyway, because after all, they're not writers and artists themselves. They're just posturing, criticizing, trying to be grandiose, trying to create a view of themselves in public, comics history or whatever. And, at this point, nobody cares about any of that. No one cares about the Comics Journal anymore. They ever did. I used to get free copies. I got them for years. It was mostly a big waste. But anyway, okay. Leave it there. Bye.